So welcome, Sally, to the Zoom room again. Nice to have you back. So we're going to have a look at today's lesson, today's quote first, and then that leads us into a bit of teaching, and then we'll look at the lesson. Okay, so if you want to have a little read of that quote and the first paragraph. Well, I'll read the quote actually and just any thoughts on it. It's actually quite a profound one.
I love you not only for what you are, but for what I am when I am with you. I love you not only for what you have made of yourself, but what you are making of me. I love you for the part of me that you bring out.
Elizabeth Barrett Browning was a famous poet, and she had a special relationship with a guy called Robert Browning. But it seemed like, from my, I don't know in detail their history, but they had quite a connection. It was like a spiritual connection. So I think she's expressing that sentiment quite well here. I love you for the part of me that you bring out, which is interesting. So it's like there's a deeper self that what she's talking about here is a holy relationship in the course's terminology, which is one of the central themes, isn't it? So yeah. The holy relationship is designed to bring out the true essence of you and help you to connect with it and feel it, and then actually express that unconditional love to the other person as well as other people. So everyone benefits from that. And that's one of the key messages of the course, central themes, is like through the holy relationship with your brother, your companion, you will find divine love. You will come to experience who you really are. So, and if you deny that,
so a special relationship is a reflection of ego, and the holy relationship is a reflection of true self.
Yeah, it's a relationship reinterpreted. So the holy relationship is the wholly aware relationship. You're aware of the truth. You're aware of who the other person really is. You're aware of who you are, because you can't be aware of who they really are unless you're aware of who you are. And as you're aware of who they really are, then naturally the awareness of who you are arises in your mind. So it's the special relationship reinterpreted into something that is holy, where you, in your true awareness, you connected with your source, and you realize that the other person is also the same source. So how can you be separate? And so the relationship has now been used to connect you with your source and to find your way home, rather than to separate you and divide you into these illusory separate identities that the ego sponsors so eagerly.
Oh, I see. So a separate relationship is one that separates us.
Yeah. So any relationship where the people actually don't want to unite, they don't really want to join unconditionally. It's all about me, separate me, self in relationship with separate you, and now I use you to make me special. And that's a special relationship. So that confirms my special identity. The whole relationship is dedicated to the foundation of building the foundation of specialness in your mind, that you're a special self, a separate self, and so are they. And so, of course, it's characterized by guilt and fear and sin and attack, because that makes you feel separate and alone. And and it's that these are unholy relationships. These are not happy relationships. How can it be? And so saying, well, major learning in this life is to learn to translate your special relationships into holy relationships and see only the divine in that person, even if they're behaving seemingly badly on the level of form. They don't do what you like them to do. You still see, I see the Christ in you. I see the true self in you.
So when you say special relationship, I had it and it went, what was it? You mean I am separate. I am different to the other person.
Yeah, specialness means you.
I had it there for a minute and it kind of went. I nearly had it right. So the word special means separated, different individual.
Yeah, to be special, you must be separate. If you're special, then there's a difference between you and other people. And so that confirms separations, the separate identity, the separate self, and the ego dedicates everything it does to that idea that you are a separate self, and everything is used to confirm that idea.
So in a special relationship, it doesn't want you to know who you really are.
Oh, absolutely not. It wants you to believe that you are special, separate, unique in a relationship with this other person who's there to kind of meet your needs. But actually, it's not telling you what its real agenda is. Its only agenda is to maintain the special identity in your mind through the relationship. And of course, the other person is if they're viewing it the same way, has the same idea. So then both are dedicated to specialness, and it's awful. It's not going to be a happy, harmonious relationship. How can it be? When both parties are separated in their mind and they're going, well, really, what's in it for me? You know, it's the YFM frequency. What's in it for me? That's the ego's channel. And so now it becomes a who can take more from who? How much can I get from you? And then the other person is trying to do the same thing. And so it becomes a game of, well, who can take more, who can gain more. And each party feels like they're losing to the other. They're losing the game. And so there's win loss, there's sacrifice, there's loss, there's all of those ideas, which are part of the idea of separation that get perpetuated by the special relationship.
So a special relationship keeps you away from love. That's bizarre.
Yeah.
Because that's why people have special relationships, to find love.
Well, yeah, supposedly. So they seek for love, seemingly, but actually they don't really want to find it because they're seeking for special love, which is really not love at all. Okay. It's actually hatred in disguise. It seems to be love for a while. Oh, I love you so much, and then, oh, you don't meet my expectations. Now suddenly that turns around. And, we've all been in these relationships where it turns and suddenly you go, oh my goodness, that's really, ugly and nasty, because you're fully attached then. So now you think you have a right to demand all kinds of things from this other person and behave in ways you would never behave towards a stranger. It's bizarre. You would never do the things you do to a stranger that you do to your so-called special love, would you? It would be completely unacceptable in polite company. But somehow it's okay in the special relationship. So it justifies all of that hatred and attack and fear and guilt. And the ego just juices that. It wants you to stay there. So it does not want you to see the truth that actually all of that is illusion. It's not really love at all. It's hatred in disguise. Don't call it love. Special love is actually special hate.
So how do you move from a special relationship to a holy relationship? You change your mind, you become one in your own mind, and hopefully your partner would as well. But what happens if, you get the oneness and they are still, or wouldn't that happen? Is there a reflection of you?
Yeah, but not everyone is necessarily at the same point in their spiritual growth, evolution. So quite often someone is on a spiritual path and their partner is not following. There will become that'll be a source of tension between them, because you going on this path and your partner doesn't really believe it, they don't really understand it, they don't really want to know anything to do with it. It becomes quite unsustainable. How do you relate to them? So often relationships break apart, but that's okay. It's like Yeshua says, some relationships in this world are not always meant to last for a long time. There's in fact, it's pretty rare. He talks about 3 kinds of relationships. There's the casual kind of encounter. You meet someone and it's a very, very casual, just meet someone on the street and you might have a chat and then you go your way. Then there's sort of more lasting relationships. You might have a few years where you know someone, they're a friend, and then you kind of drift apart. And then sometimes you have lifelong relationships where, you're going to know those people for your whole life, and there's a potentially a very deep learning that can happen, especially if it's chosen. Family, you have a lifelong relationship with your family. I know some families are excommunicate, they don't talk, but they're still kind of in relationship because they know about each other, and there's that resentment and that friction that keeps them apart. So there's still a relationship going on, even if they're not, communicating. But the special relationship, is most prominent in a special love partner, someone you choose. So like, this is the person, this person's going to make me happy. I want to share my life with them. And, then our sense of self is very invested in that. And so is theirs. And so it becomes a playground for this ego to confirm the specialness and really, cause havoc with both people's minds. But that is exactly the opportunity, because all the ego stuff then gets shown up and it comes into conscious awareness. Now that's the opportunity to let it go. So there's nothing better than a special relationship to trigger all of that stuff to arise, and then you have to look at it. And if you're genuinely on a spiritual path like A Course in Miracles, then you would need to let it go. That would be your task, to drop that, let it go. So to make it into a holy relationship, you continuously let go of any of the negativity in your own mind. And that's all you can do. You can't try and fix the other person. And by the law of quantum, because everything's connected, that will affect them on some level. You don't know exactly how, and sometimes they don't seem to be getting it. But on some level, if you forgive, then they are. And sometimes that you don't necessarily have to live with the person. It's okay. You can still be in relationship and not live with someone. So there's no, on the level of form, there's no absolute, okay, it has to be this way. That's never what Yeshua does. He just says, across this, these are the principles: holy relationships, letting go. If you can apply that, then the Holy Spirit, the remembrance of love, will look after the rest. It'll look after how the form outcome looks. So,
wow.
It's a profound, it's a really a deep. It's one of the things that makes the course quite unique, because he talks a lot about this holy relationship and the special relationship, and the relationship as a path of awakening. At some point, he even says, well, yes, you could spend 20 years meditating, and in the end, because of your intention, that would work. But actually, this path of forgiveness or letting go within a special relationship is the fast track. This is the quickest way to collapse your ego, because it's all going to come up in the special relationship. Then you use it for what it's for, which is to become aware of what you need to let go of and let it go. And if you do that, that's the fast track to awakening, because it's going to bring up all your ego stuff. And I mean, we've all been in special relations. There's nothing quite that pushes your buttons quite as much as that, is there?
Because you're attached, aren't you? Because you've got all those things in the illusion, like house and children and dog or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And once you're stuck in it, ego can
play the game. So it gets you nicely attached. So now it becomes a symbol of worldly attachment. You're attached to the person, and then money and possessions and all of that stuff comes in as well. So the combination, ego loves it, has a nice field day. And now that it seems to be justified, argument and conflict and attack and so on, and blame and projection, all the stuff the ego loves, seem to be justified, because you didn't do that, you said this and you didn't do this, and we all know. And you and you and you and you and you and you, and you project onto each other, and the separation is maintained, and neither of you are very happy. And but therein, in that dynamic, lies a huge learning, because if you can collapse that and go, no, this is just a silly game, this is just illusion, and I'm being sucked into an illusion to confirm a separate self. I don't want to think these kinds of thoughts. I don't want to be mean and unkind, and I want to let go. I want to be open. I want to love unconditionally.
Hi, Sue.
Hi. Piqued my interest. Whoa. Okay. Can I ask them? If you're in a special relationship, is it, if you do, because I feel like I'm in a relationship where I use the relationship to reflect back to me what's going on. So I see that as bringing up my ego stuff and releasing it. And I see that within that relationship, our relationship is changing all the time. Can that develop into a holy relationship?
Yeah, any relationship can. I mean, there's no
Right.
order of difficulty in miracles. That's the first principle of miracles. But it requires willingness on the part of both people to do it.
Well, I feel in our relationship, it's just me doing it. So I just wonder if that would then could that then turn into a holy relationship, or is that, I don't know. Anyway, it's food for thought.
You've always got the choice. You can stay with that person even if they're not getting it, and you can always forgive. So it can become your ongoing source of forgiveness, lessons, spiritual practice. And some people do that. There's a lady called, what was her name? Quite a well-known Course in Miracles teacher from the US. Begins with an N. It'll come to me. And she was saying, well, my partner doesn't really get it, but that's okay. I just use it as my ongoing spiritual practice. And so I stay with him, has no idea about Course, doesn't like it, and not spiritual at all, and she just uses it as a forgiveness lesson. So could do.
Yeah. Well, he's not spiritual. He is spiritual, but yeah, just maybe on a different level at the moment. So we'll just see. Yeah.
So you keep letting go, and in the letting go, you ask for guidance. You say, okay, well, show me. What is the right path here? What is for the highest good of both people? And the Holy Spirit will give you some guidance. If you're genuinely sincere in that and you're genuinely letting go, then the beauty of it is it does give you quite specific guidance about what to do. And that just might be a thought that comes in. Okay, that feels right. And that might be staying together, that might be leaving, that might, you don't know. The form can be anything. It's just connecting with the spirit and listening to the guidance. That's the most important thing. And being able to discern, okay, well, yes, that spirit, no, that doesn't quite feel aligned. That's ego, and that's why we do training.
Hold on a sec, sorry.
No problem. So yeah, Sally, if you can read, I've kind of done the first paragraph. Well, actually, read it from the first one. Read the first couple of paragraphs, please.
Today's inspirational quote by Elizabeth poet Elizabeth Barrett Browning is a wonderful reminder about one of the central themes in A Course in Miracles, which is what Yeshua calls the holy relationship. The quote expresses the key meaning of such a relationship, which is to connect both people in the relationship with the essence of who they really are and live in a state of peace, joyful flow with each other and life as a result.
Yeah, anything speak to you there?
Just that in my marriage, I did all the work and my husband didn't buy into the spiritual side, so we grew apart. So it was literally.
And that's probably why you split up eventually.
Yeah.
Not connecting with the person.
So it's not possible to have a holy relationship if just one person does the work.
Well, as I was saying, this Course in Miracles teacher used the relationship as a spiritual practice, and she'd say, well, it's I just forgive. That's my only job. Just let it go. It
so
is.
She was in a holy relationship and he wasn't. Is that how you term it?
So she's seeing it. She's seeing it as holy, and maybe he's seeing it as special. But on some level, I suppose it would rub off. It's very difficult to be, completely egoic if someone is unconditionally loving you. You would think that would, rub off to a point. Got another, you never met Patricia, a lady called Patricia, who's with her husband. Just like not, he says, are you going to drink the Kool-Aid? You remember that cult? They drank Kool-Aid. It was Jim Jones or something, and he drank. So his joke is always, is she going to a Course in Miracles session? Don't drink the Kool-Aid. So this is kind of their standing joke. So not really open to it at all. But she goes, well, this is my forgiveness. This is I need to just let go and forgive and be okay, and not get angry, not react. And so that's my practice. So you can, nothing's saying you have to stay with someone, but you can if it feels right, and it can be a great source of spiritual practice and growth if you do it. You might want something more, and I suppose that's normal. You want someone to reciprocate and connect in this lovely, peaceful, harmonious, joyful energy. But if you're truly forgiving, it wouldn't matter very much because you'd have it within you. So, well, I'm in it irrespective of what you do. So it's possible. I'm not saying it's easy. I think it's advanced. I mean, that's advanced, spiritual practice to forgive and let go when someone else is not. But it is possible. The ideal would be the other person's on a similar path. You both do it, and then you sort of merging into the one. You both feel that oneness, and then why would you have any issues if you just one? If you really acknowledge, that you're one with the person, conflict dissolves. This is me. I'm just looking at myself. They seem to be in a different form, but actually we're exactly the same. And if I really get that, how can we argue? How can there be anything but pure love? Now that's the ultimate. I mean, I don't know many relationships like that, but it's generally a work in progress in this world. It's like, okay, well, you're moving towards that, that ideal, and if you're doing it and you're letting go, that's part of your spiritual growth in this world. So it's all perfect in its imperfection. Gives you excellent opportunities to practice. So any other thoughts on that? See you smiling.
Feels really right to me, actually. I mean, the relationship I'm in, and I do feel like that happens a lot. And I feel that I always reflect it back to me, what's going on with me. So if I see something within him, I'll take it back to me and do the work on it. So okay.
Yeah. And if
Good.
you're using for that purpose, then great. You do the work, you let go. You don't, the key thing is not to project onto the other person. And that's very tempting. I don't know, it's you, you're the problem, and this is what characterizes special.
Yeah, and if I do that, I catch myself or I go into a bit of a downward spiral, and I can feel it. But the good thing is he can feel it too. He can feel when I'm in a bad place. Yeah. So what happens then, we have a conversation and deal with it, and then I become aware of it if I hadn't been aware of it. So then I can sort it out.
Yeah.
So
it's okay. And if you have that, that's great. It sounds like there's enough understanding there to have those kinds of conversations. It's going to become quite difficult if you with someone and you really can't have any kind of spiritual conversation at all, nothing deeper.
Well, I have been there as well.
Yeah, it's incredibly challenging, isn't it?
Yes. This is so much.
Yeah, and that didn't probably last because like, well, I can't, penetrate through the ego's defense of let's just deal with, surface level and let's not go into emotions and thoughts and explore those. So each situation is different, and you'll be guided. If you're in a relationship that doesn't serve you and serve your awakening anymore, then you'll be guided to stop. I mean, the same lady, Patricia was guided to let go of another relationship. I just don't want to be with this guy anymore. He's not serving me. And within 5 days, it was over because it was like, okay, enough. I need to move on for my spiritual growth, and that's that's fine. On the level of form, we're not meant to be with everyone forever necessarily. So it was a learning experience. You let it go. You to move on without guilt. It's like, well, nothing in this world lasts forever, does it? Even the most long-standing relationships. People
I had 25 years.
Yeah.
I had 35 years with my husband. And I was guided to move on. Felt really right.
That's okay.
Very challenging, but yeah. Yeah.
And that moving on is part of your, part of
And
your
that,
spiritual awakening.
yes, it was all about my spiritual journey.
So it
Yeah.
served you, for 35 years, but okay, things change, you're evolving, you're on your hero's journey, maybe he's not, you get the guidance. So people say, well, what does the Holy Spirit say? Well, it's so context specific. You can't ever generalize, oh, well, the Holy Spirit will say that. It just depends on so many factors. And each person's on their unique journey. So this is why there's no cookie cutter. You can't ever say, okay, well, here are the rules. Like we put it all down and, we lay it all out. And in the Jewish religion, there's 600 and something other laws of God. I mean, it's just insane. You can't do that. Try and script it all. It's just, let's tap in, let's listen to the guidance. Each situation is going to be different. And if you're really guided, you'll get the guidance that's appropriate for that particular situation for you at that time in your life. That's actually perfect for, and only the Holy Spirit can do that. There's nothing else that can do it. And letting go opens a channel for that. When you let go of the negative thoughts and emotions that block that channel, then you can listen and you can get the guidance and follow it and go, okay, yeah, that feels right, that feels good. I go with it, and there's no guilt, there's no fear, no resentment, no anger. You bless them. If there's a person, you're moving on, you bless them and you move on. And it's fine. Remember, no one's guilty. No one ever really did anything, no matter what seemed to happen. So with that, you can go, okay, well, I can move on. It's fine. No guilt. No, just be present. Right here, right now, that relationship's, over. I'm moving on. And okay, I'm just present. And that's so liberating. You don't carry all the baggage of the past with you. Okay, so Sue, if you want to read paragraph 3, if you accept this is true, that the key meaning of a relationship is to connect both people in the relationship with the essence of who they really are, and then live in a state of peaceful, joyful flow. And you accept this is true, then
you must also accept that letting go of the thoughts and feelings towards anyone with whom you are in what Yeshua calls a special relationship, typically guilt, fear, resentment, and anger, must be the way to free yourself from these awful egoic effects and find yourself and your flow again. In fact, the only real purpose of the special relationship, previously dedicated to affirming the reality of the identity of two separate selves, is to help the two people to let go of their false belief in being a separate self and identify only with who they really are, which is love itself.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm just relating back to when me and my husband split up. There was a lot of guilt, fear, resentment, because it brought up all emotions. But it was my journey to find myself. So yeah, I had to go through that journey. Okay.
Yeah, remember that the point is not to make the relationship work on the level of form as the ultimate goal. The relationship is a means to awaken you to the truth of who you really are. That's the point. And so if it lasts for the entire life and that's helpful, then it will. And if it lasts 10 years and then you move on and that's helpful for your spiritual growth, then that's what will happen if you're listening to the guidance. So it frames it within the context of this, salvation, awakening, saying is your only function. Salvation or awakening is your only function here. That's all you're here to do. So the relationship must serve that. It's not a goal in itself. Some people have the relationship as a goal. Well, I really like to be in a special relationship with my ideal partner, Mr. and Mrs. Right. That's a special relation because it's a goal in itself, and they're missing the point. But actually, the whole point is to know yourself, and the relationship can be hugely better, helpful in that process. But it's not the end goal. The end goal is always God, which is a reality that transcends relationship. You're not in a relationship with God. You are God. Love is what you are. That's what he's saying. You are that. So there's ultimately, when the Father and the Son are one, there's no relationship anymore. It's just one awareness, you see. Collapsing duality means there's no relationship, because relationship implies that they're two separate selves who are relating to each other. Whereas,
that's a biggie.
Yeah, but in the mystical union, you get it. It's a collapse into one awareness. There's no longer any need to relate to anything else, because there's only one awareness. One awareness can't relate to anything else. There's nothing else to relate to. It just is. And that's why we say God is, and then we cease to speak. It just is. It's the perfect isness being. And that's where it's all heading. That's what the holy relationship is designed to teach you. Okay, I'm collapsing my sense of separation. I see the other person as myself. That helps me to go into the pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is my true identity. And I rest there.
That feels really, really big for me, because I feel that one of the things that I've come into this life to learn more about is relationships, not just relationships with people, but relationships between anything, really, animals and all of that. So then to kind of have that awareness that there isn't actually a relationship, it's all oneness. It just takes it to another level and expands my mind.
It is another level, but it's what makes every relationship here a relationship. Without oneness, there would be no relationship, would there? Do you see that?
Yeah, well, I get that. And that's where I kind of I'm a bit puzzled by how it all fits in, because I see no need for a relationship, because I am oneness. I am everything, and I am whole and complete. So to invent another person in my illusion that is a relationship seems ridiculous, seems so limiting, because everyone's here to help me awaken.
So what he's saying, the special relation, is you don't seek. If you really get the truth, why would you seek out a special partner?
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no one is special to you anymore. There's just everyone is the same. So seeking out a special person to somehow fulfill you is specialness. It confirms separation, and it's based on guilt and fear and sin and attack. All of that will come in, because you are somehow, by doing that, separating yourself from the whole. And so if you have special relationships already, then transform them into a holy relationship. But once you awaken, you don't seek out more special relationships. That would be insane. Why would you do that? Whoever happens to be in your life, treat them in a divinely, unconditionally loving way. Sure, but you're no longer looking for that special person to fulfill you, because the idea is insane. Why would you? You can't. It's not. You realize it can't work. I'm never going to find a special person to fulfill me, because my only fulfillment comes from knowing myself, and that's within me. It's not outside of me. All that another person can do, as Elizabeth Barrett Browning says, is they can remind you of who you really are. If you use the relationship for that purpose. As she says, I love you not only for what you've made of yourself, but for what you're making of me. I love you for the parts of me that you bring out. So you bring out the spirit in me, the essence. You remind me of that. And then the relationship can be really helpful in helping you to awaken. So it puts a whole different spin on relationships, doesn't it? Gets you to see it completely differently, which is what he's trying to do with every part of your life. Like, okay, turn it around, see it differently, and use it for the one purpose that there is, which is awakening. Okay, so Sally, if you can read the next. This is why all forgiveness.
This is why all forgiveness in the Course in Miracles language is really forgiving yourself, which restated in our alternative art of letting go language means that when you forgive anyone or anything, you are letting go of your own negative thoughts and emotions about them. and opening your mind to the pure formless awareness of perfect love that lies beyond these blocks to the awareness of love's presence. The truth is really very simple, but is obscured by the complexity of your ego's distorted thoughts and emotions that are designed to deny it. So why not spend a few minutes now contemplating today's quote? Give yourself the opportunity to experience an aha moment or a holy instant where you break through the ego's dark fog into the light of the truth and the experience of peace and joy. And the truth always brings that lies beyond the illusion of your dark or limited awareness.
Yeah, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're always forgiving yourself. That's really interesting, isn't it? I kind of knew that, but I just heard it slightly differently. But yeah,
forgiving yourself means you letting go of your own negative thoughts and emotions about that person. So you're then free of the negativity and you've forgiven yourself for your illusions.
Yeah, that's cool.
Open your mind to this pure formless awareness of perfect love, and that's the only truth. The ego loves a special relationship because of all the complexity of the distorted thoughts and emotions that it produces, and all of that just obscures the simplicity of the truth. Okay, you are pure formless awareness of perfect love and nothing else.
Yeah, and if you see the other person in any other way, then you forgive yourself for seeing it that way.
Yeah. And that means you let go of that block. Okay, I'm perceiving it incorrectly. Okay, I let it go. I see them only as love. They are me, I am them, and all this, the darkness of separation, the dark fog, as I call it, gives way to the light of truth, which is simply the awareness of oneness. Okay, they are one, I am one, and really nothing else is true. What could be simpler? It's such a simple truth, but to apply it in this world of separation, becomes the art. That's why it's the art of letting go. How do you actually do that? How do you live that way? It's the question. How do you live in relationship? There is no really separate self, but the person seems to be a separate self. They seem to have a body. They seem to have their own identity. They seem to have a personality, and now you got to relate to them. And they speak, and they seem to have. They seem on the level of form to have a very, very much a separate self. And now you have to relate to them from the place of holiness, of whole awareness, saying, I know actually we are one. Irrespective of what you say or do, we are one. And that's the art of it. That's the holy relationship, which he says is the most phenomenal teaching accomplishment. I would translate as teaching and learning accomplishment. Because it's difficult to do that with another person. In some ways, it's easier to meditate on your own and just go within and find it there. To actually see it in another person, especially if they're not doing what you want them to do, and there's all this apparent conflict and drama, that's a real challenge. But it's doable. It is possible because you can always change your mind.
I find the word relationship interesting because we've only got the present moment. There's only you, me, and Sue in this present moment, imagining we're seeing each other. There's no relationship. The relationship is like an ego manifestation by itself, isn't it? That, you and I are together and we have a relationship. And then that relationship becomes a story and it becomes an attachment and it becomes a thing. Out of the now, it's not in the now. So yeah, I find that all very
part of separation, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a separate, now we have a relationship, and there's this like thing that's going on, and that's not pure formless awareness unless it's given to pure formless awareness, and then the separate relationship, the special relationship, dissolves, and all that's left is the pure formless awareness of perfect love between you. And you experience that as divine love or unconditional love for each other. Just an openness and emptiness, a total acceptance of each other, which feels very joyful, feels very happy. No judgment. Just, yes, you are that, I am that. And I don't love you. I can't really love you because that again implies separation. I, separate self, love you, separate self. That's the duality of language. I am you is more to the point. I am you. I see you as me. That's the namaste greeting or namaste. I see you as me. I see myself in you. That's what divine love really means. Very few people understand this. It's very hard to break out of the limits of the ego, going, I, separate self, love you. And, yet, even if you understand conceptually, okay, there's something called unconditional divine love, to actually break out of the construct of I love you as a person is quite a challenge. And it's part of this spiritual awakening to be able to do that. Say, I am you. I am you. Okay. I'm not, I am you. We are both the essence of love, which is what today's lesson is saying. So if we both the essence of love, the same source, then I must be you. How could I, the logic is irrefutable, isn't it? I must be you, you must be you, you must be me. So I'm in you, you are me. In fact, we are one self, we are one awareness. We must be. And when you feel that, and it kind of drops in, that's just very restful and peaceful. Just kind of rest in that. Actually, I can just accept that truth with no judgment. And that is unconditional love when we're in that state.
And it's freedom, isn't it? In the now, it's absolute freedom. There's no holding on or expecting or planning. It just in this moment.
And no judgment of the other as other. See, judgment always separates. It says, I am me, you are you. We have a separation. And as soon as we do that, the split in our mind is there, isn't it? And so that's why, all the spiritual teachings say, drop the judgment. Because the judgment makes the separation real, makes you seemingly separate from the other person. So you've got to let it go to come into the awareness of perfect oneness and just rest in that awareness. And if you rest there together, then it's beautiful. It's divine love. I've had a few experiences in my life like that. It's just like, wow, it's just totally amazing. Just, you can't really describe it. But it's certainly not, there's no sense of I. It wasn't I love you. I mean, that's just ridiculous. You're not even thinking that. It's just like, you're just in that awareness together. You feel it. It's like, that just feels. So it goes beyond words. It goes beyond duality, collapses all that. You just rest in the deep peace and joy that present moment, the holy instant, as he calls it, brings. So you can see how all these concepts work together. The holy instant, the holy relationship, it all works together for the highest good to awaken you to the truth.
And then the body disappears.
Yeah, no need for a body. Body just confirms separation. Why would you need a separate body if you're one awareness?
I listened to something today, sorry to say, it just jumped into my mind, where they were just talking about an out-of-body experience, and they were saying that people refer to when they've had an out-of-body experience and they see themselves above their bodies, their thought process is, I hope that person will be okay, or I hope that they've detached themselves from it. So they've lost that attachment that we have to our bodies, isn't it? So that's just to my mind when you were talking.
Yeah, anyone who's had an out-of-body experience says, well, I realized I wasn't the body. How could I be if I'm looking at the body? They're clearly not me. I have some other awareness that transcends the body. I'm literally out of my body looking at this. So
but they don't even see that as themselves, their body. They see it.
A body.
Yeah. Hope that person's okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So things like out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, these confirm, the spiritual truth that we're not a body, because they wouldn't be possible if that weren't true. Must be so. So this is why science scientific materialism doesn't really handle these experiences very well, doesn't know what to do with it. It's like, well, no, that shouldn't be possible. If you're a brain, an out-of-body experience shouldn't be possible. So all they can do is deny it. Say, no, that's not possible. You're hallucinating. Oh, okay. So it's all a hallucination. Well, even if it's a hallucination, there was an experience going on. So how do you explain it then? Where there was clearly another awareness that was outside of the body. So how can you be your brain if you can detach from your body and you can look at the body from above? Clearly there's another awareness that's not connected to the body or the brain. When people die after 15 seconds, all brainwave activity stops, but they can come back after near-death experience after half an hour or something, and they'll come back and they'll have this whole experience. And then we go, but there was no brainwave activity. So clearly that's telling you that they're not their brain. The brain's just the hardware that kind of jacks them into the body. But there's another awareness, and that's where they've been. They've been in this other awareness that completely transcends the body and the brain. And so there's a huge amount of evidence for all of this in these kinds of experiences. But scientific materialists will poo-poo it because it rocks their whole paradigm. It's like, well, if these things are true, then your paradigm that the world is flat and there's only the external world and none of the stuff really exists is incorrect. It's false, which questions the entire reality, the reality of the ego, the reality of this world. The whole thing crumbles as soon as you start to go in the spiritual direction. That's why a lot of people are just really not open, because the ego knows that one little crack in that opens your mind. You start contemplating the idea that you're not a body. It opens your mind up to the truth, doesn't it? And then, well, the truth is eventually it'll take you the whole way to the undoing of the ego entirely. And of course, the ego doesn't want that. So that's why some people are just so close, because ego's in high defense mode, won't even look at anything alternative, because their ego knows that that's the thin edge of the wedge. It's ultimately going to crack the whole thing open and undo it. So it won't take one step down the path.
I know those type of people.
Yeah, we all do. We all had experience. This is pretty difficult to relate, because it's like, well, you're just like on another planet. Their worldview and yours just do not intersect at all. It's the just totally different paradigms.
But then if they're a reflection of us, there must be a part of us not willing to go there.
Yeah. So then it becomes your letting go opportunity. So okay, well, I'll let it go, and I won't see it as real. So I'm not going to judge the person, or because I'm judging nothing. This idea, the thought system they represent, is really nothing. So why am I judging them if they believe in nothing? Well, that's very freeing. Just go, well, it's just nothing. So why am I getting upset over nothing? The whole external world, the behavior, observed behaviors, performance outcomes, collectively that shows up as systems in the world, organizational structures, processes, laws, all the things of society. Yeshua's basically saying this is all nothing. Just projection of a nothing thought, a belief in separation. So why would you get upset over nothing? Why would you value it? Why would you believe in it? If someone wants to believe in it, well, it's their choice, but you don't have to. So never the twain shall meet. You cannot reconcile a thought system that believes in this, the external world, and believes in the internal world and says this is reality, because in the end they contradict each other. So a lot of spiritual teachings try and reconcile it. This model kind of puts it into one model, which is useful. It can be helpful in this world to understand, okay, there are these different quadrants, different dimensions. But in the end, in oneness, none of this exists. There's no exterior and interior. There's no individual and collective. There's just one awareness. So it all collapses into one. And the quadrant you find that from is the individual intentional. When I really understand that in my mind, then I literally go deeper. Imagine this is a portal. That quadrant becomes the portal, the gateway into oneness. And you leave all of this behind. This is part of the construct of illusion. You leave it all behind, you go into oneness, it all collapses, and you're back home, where there are no models. There's nothing to model there because it's perfect oneness. So, so incredibly simple. So use these models to help you to get there, but in the end, no, it's just training wheels. It's just to help you to understand and collapse your belief in separation to ultimately get to the pure formless awareness of perfect love that you are. Okay, so shall we have a look at today's lesson? Any comments or questions on that quote, teaching?
So I was just thinking, when I was a child, I remember leaving my body and looking at my body and just not seeing it as solid at all. So now I'm thinking, is that a dream? Is that like, because it isn't in the now, it's a memory in my mind. Did it really happen?
Yeah, that's true. But in that experience, it was an awakening experience. You had a glimpse in that experience of something beyond the body and beyond the world. So that can be a helpful pointer and reminder to go, yes, remember, I had that experience. So I know on some level you've experienced that. You know on some level that you're not a body, having experienced that.
So as a child, I had relationships, lots of children do, invisible beings. I had a little boy next door who didn't have a physical body, and he was like very playful and joyful to be with. So was that me just accepting that we are non-physical, or I was wondering, I was just trying to slot it into my memory banks, what that was all about. To me, it was very real, having an energetic friend rather than a physical friend. And lots of kids do, don't they?
Yeah, they do. You could argue, well, that's just in their imagination. Some people say, well, it's really there, it's just in another dimension. But in the end, the Course answers it all. It's all illusion. There's nothing really separate at all. So there's no separate boy next door. There's no next door. There's no separate boy next door there, whether he's corporeal or incorporeal, whether he's got a body or not. So a lot of people go into the esoteric realms and they say, oh well, this is somehow more spiritual because we can see there's entities and there's channeling, and we channel entities and we can see ghosts and all of that stuff. But in the end, as long as there's an idea of separation, it's still illusory. So if you see the separate identity of a ghost, incorporeal, but seemingly, having some kind of separate self, separate identity in their ghostly form, that's still separation. It's all separation. It's just versions of a dream. What you got to learn to see, versions of a dream. So whether I'm sleeping and I'm dreaming at night and I dream of characters in my dream, then I wake up in this world and it seems to be more real because I can see, feel, touch, taste. I have all my 5 senses, and now there's seemingly physical bodies wandering around. It's all just a dream, just different versions of a dream. As he says at some point, how do you know you've really woken up? When you wake up from a sleep, you wake up from a sleeping dream, and then you wake up to a waking dream. How do you know you've really awoken? Well, the truth is you don't. It seems to be a different state. It's a more supposedly awake state than a sleeping dream, but how do you know? It's all perceptual. So saying the only true reality, pure formless awareness of perfect love, that's your reference for reality. But that's been obscured. You don't know that anymore. So now you're in the domain of perception, in the dream, in various aspects of the dream, trying to find some kind of reality in the dream. Whether it's a sleeping dream, a waking dream, an esoteric dream, an out-of-body experience, astral traveling, all these, we try and find some kind of reality. And what he's saying is there is no reality in any dreams. Only pure formless awareness of perfect love that underlies it all is real. And if you remember that, it's quite helpful because it just helps you to collapse all of those other ideas and say, well, that's not true either. Whether it's seemingly corporeal, incorporeal, it doesn't matter. Ghosts, all this esoteric stuff. No, all illusion, more illusion, just a different version of illusion. So then the ego loves that, goes, oh, that's more spiritual. So we'll go down that track And then it gets you, down a blind alley looking for the truth in another version of the illusion for years. But it's still not the truth, because anything that involves any kind of separation is not true. And so, what we're trying to do is collapse all of that with this teaching. It undoes all of that. There is no more separation. There's only perfect oneness remaining, and that's incredibly simple. Right? It just is. It is what it is, and there's nothing else. And all of our mind training is directed towards that goal. And everything in this world can be used for that single goal and function. Okay, so what we're supposed to do, I'll do this quite quickly, is read the 5 paragraphs of the lesson, of the precursor to the lesson, which is on what is forgiveness. Any other thoughts arising? We've done it a few times already, but I'm not sure Sue has. So Sue, if you want to read number 1, paragraph 1, read the alternative from letting go recognizes.
Letting go recognizes what you thought your companion did to you has not occurred. It does not pardon sins and make them real. It perceives there was no sin, and that in that view are all your sins let go of. What is sin except a false idea about perfect love's extension? Letting go merely perceives its falsity and therefore lets it go. What then is free to take place is now the pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Okay, any thoughts on that?
Well, if you're letting go, just letting go, it's recognizing that what's happened hasn't really happened, and you accept that.
Yeah, that's radical forgiveness. So what he's the first half of the paragraph is about that. In that view, all sins let go of. So sin is just the idea of an error that's made permanent and real. So the error is irreversible, the error has really happened, it's permanent, it's real, and therefore punishment is justified because of the error. And this just says, well, it never happened. So it's not real, so therefore none of its consequences are real.
So there's no sin?
Yeah.
Okay.
There never was an error.
No.
That's radical forgiveness. You're getting to the very root of it, which is no, there never was one. Because there never was an idea of separation. It never happened. Seems to have happened, but the seeming and the reality are not the same. Seeming is just an illusion. Reality is it never happened. You still are the pure formless awareness of perfect love.
So it's about acceptance, really, isn't it? Accepting that it didn't happen.
Accepting this fundamental truth, and in the letting go, you accept the truth more and more. See how it works. The more you let go, the more you must accept that truth that nothing really happened. There is no sins. There's no need to forgive anything because it never really happened. And then your ego is going to have a problem with that. So then it judges, and then you go, no, but remember the truth. It never really happened. So in the forgiving, you remind yourself of the truth over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So how does that work then? When something's happened, do you let go? If you forgive, you're forgiving the action, even if you are thinking that it's not real. So you're creating the fact that it has happened. So it's just letting go of the idea that it ever happened in the first place.
Yeah, and the way you practically do that is you say, well, any consequences. So I'm feeling guilty, I'm feeling ashamed, I'm feeling angry, fearful, whatever it is, seemingly consequence of that sin didn't happen, never happened. So when I drop the thought and the emotion around it, then what I'm really telling myself is it never happened. because all I have remaining is pure formless awareness of perfect love if I drop all of that. And so that's practically how you translate this, a very high metaphysical teaching, into, well, how does this actually work in your mind? How would you feel? You let go of the thoughts and emotions that characterize the ego, and that wrap the sin and make it real.
Right. So it's letting go of the thoughts and the emotions around what has that supposed situation that you've made up has happened.
Yes. And when you have perfect peace and none of those are there anymore, and you're just at peace and you're resting in this pure formless awareness of perfect love, then what you've really done is you've denied that it happened. Because if there are no consequences to it, in your mind, it's like, well, there's no cause anymore. The cause has been denied.
But is there steps to this? Like initially, like is there the process? So would the process be you'd acknowledge it to start with, then be aware that, well, this hasn't really happened, so I can let it go. So it feels like you have to kind of be aware of it initially.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So there's this 10-step process. And what I tried to do was put that all into some kind of here we go. Some kind of systematic process to say, okay, well, if you're going to do this step by step, you've got to start somewhere, which is where you are, right? You seemingly have negative thoughts and emotions going on. So Yeshua meets us there. He's saying, well, it's not helpful just to deny those and repress them. You need to become aware of them.
Okay.
So acknowledge the negative thoughts and emotions, acknowledge what they are, see them, bring them to mind, be aware. So, well, you got the first 2 steps. Be aware of them, acknowledge them, be aware.
Yeah.
Have you looked at this or not? Or
no, and this is really good because I've spent a lot of time in the number 1. So number 2 is like, coming up now, being aware of stuff.
Be aware. So
you're
aware, in a state of higher awareness. You're just able to observe the thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
Without judging them, without entertaining them, indulging them, just observe it. Okay, so that seems to be there. It seems to be an energy, and so that removes you from the personalized relationship of it. And then remember that it's an illusion or a dream. Okay, that's now this is the truth. All of us is illusion. It's a dream. Use whichever language is better for you. Which reminds you of the metaphysical truth. Okay, none of this is real. It's just a dream. It's my projection. I've projected it out. Everything in the dream is a projection of belief. So I'm projecting it out and I'm believing that it's there and it's real.
Yep. So the projection is what's reflecting back to you, isn't it? So what's out there? You. Okay. Yeah.
When you take it back and you say, no, it's actually my own belief that's being reflected from me. Now you're you're using the projection for what it's really for, which is awakening. Because then you bring it back and you go, okay, I'm responsible. It's not out there. I can't blame anyone else. It's a projection of my own belief. So I must do the work internally. I must let go of that belief because that's the problem.
Yeah. Okay.
And, having some compassion is just understanding that it's not easy. So you have compassion for yourself and for the other person. This is not an easy process to do this. It softens the judgment immediately. And then you move into an actual letting go process and prepare. Feeling the emotions, so you feel it fully, but with some awareness, really look at it, but allow yourself to go through what the emotions are. And then as they come up and you experience them, you consciously let them go. And you use a little breath process because that can really help. And just release the feeling, release the energy. It's an energy, release it. And then that's all you can do. You release the energy and say, I'm letting this go. I'm willing to let it go. And if you're willing, then you'll get help to actually, to do it, to actually let it go. And then appreciating the perfection. So mirror of the situation, you go, okay, it's all a mirror, it's all perfect. It's helped me to see it and to let go of my own negativity, my own egoic beliefs. So perfect, great. Why am I upset about it? It was a perfect lesson. And so I can only be grateful for it. Yeah, good, great lesson. I'm very happy. I'm very pleased that it happened, even if it was seemingly painful at the time, because it's helped me to free myself. And so now there's no resentment. It's just gratitude for the experience, and that's forgiven. And that leads you to the total forgiveness. You forgive and you release completely. I forgive you, and I'm forgiven completely. Was forgiven and released. It always I have been and will be oneself. So I love you unconditionally as myself. So at the end of it, you've collapsed the duality, the separation in your mind, and you've realized, well, we're just one. We're oneself. That's always the final outcome of forgiveness. So if you want to break down the Course in Miracles teachings into 10 steps, then you can use this process.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Go through it in detail. But the two major steps are, first of all, an awareness of it.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm aware of this negativity arising. And then second step, a choice to let it go. Okay, but I can let this go. I can release the energy. And you use a process like breathing, releasing, letting it go. You can use other techniques like Ho'oponopono. You can use the instrument for peace. You can use this 10-step process to actually feel like, yes, there's a release of energy. I've let it go. So it's quite simple. It's just a letting go process. But not always easy to do. And a lot of people aren't aware of what forgiveness really means. What does it actually mean to forgive someone? No one's broken it down into doable steps. Said, okay, well, this is what it means. This is how you actually do it. Some kind of mystical, esoteric, spiritual concept that they can't really get a handle on, and they can't apply in their life, which means it can't really help them, which of course is how the ego wants to keep it. Forgiveness, yes, it's there, but I don't really understand it and I can't really apply it, so I don't really do it. And then of course the ego remains. Okay, so let's go back to here. So happy with number 1. So number 2, Sally, if you can read that.
A negative thought is one which makes a judgment that it will not question, although it's not true. The mind is closed and will not be released. A negative thought protects projection, tightening its chains so that distortions are more veiled and more obscure, less easily accessible to doubt, and further kept from reason. What can come between a fixed projection and the aim it has chosen as its wanted goal? It's so easy to get stuck in the negative thought and not be able to see around it or through it.
So it protects this projection mechanism, tightening its chains, so that you have all these distortions, all the egoic thoughts and emotions that cover over pure formless awareness of perfect love. And these are more veiled and more obscure, less easily accessible to doubt, further kept from reason. So projection means that you cannot see the truth. You cannot see that you're projecting, that it's your own belief. That's the problem. And so what can come between a fixed projection, the aim, and is chosen as a wanted goal? If you want to confirm the ego through the situation, then you see it in a certain way. That's the fixed projection. You will perceive it in a certain way, and that becomes your wanted goal, to be a separate self. And when you see that, then you collapse it. That's why the instrument for peace works quite well, that process. Because it just exposes that and says, well, all you're trying to do here is be a separate self. Once you see that clearly, it like pops the ego's bubble and you go, well, that's not actually what I want. What I really want is peace of mind. And the only thing that's going to bring me peace of mind is oneness. So therefore my goal has changed. I choose to be one self rather than a separate self. Therefore I must let go of the beliefs and the thoughts and the emotions and the sensations that characterize separation. Let's See if we can find the instrument for peace. So this is always useful to remind ourselves. So there you see it's in a perception underpinned by emotion, thought underpinned by belief, and at the core of it, there's a desire to be separate self or the desire to be oneself. That's the level of the miracle. When you get down to that level, you cut through all of this. You go, in the end, it's a simple choice. Do I want to be oneself or do I want to be a separate self? You change your mind at that level, then the beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and perceptions ripple up and they change. And your perception changes, and that's how you truly forgive. Start with the perception, work through the false thoughts, emotions, beliefs to the desire. Recognize the desire to be a separate self is false. Change that to the desire to be one self, and then have a different belief. Okay, I'm actually one self. Therefore, my thoughts change. If I'm oneself, I see the other person as myself. It's more loving, it's more peaceful. So that becomes your new emotion, and your perception changes. Because you can no longer feel angry or upset or resentful. You now have a sense of peace and calm and unity. And that's forgiveness. That's what it always brings. Okay. Any thoughts on number 2?
Well, I was just thinking about something where I might not be able to see through what's going on. And then it occurred to me, well, that will help me awaken anyway. So that kind of allows me to let go of the closed mind, thinking that there's a benefit to it because everybody's here to help me awaken. And then that lets me loosen the chains and see it from another direction. And that's made me feel better.
It's all there, even the worst, especially the worst situations, are there to help you, to awaken. You see that you become pretty invulnerable. So, okay, it's all perfect. And it's apparent imperfection because it's showing me the ego that I need to let go of and giving me the opportunity to do that. If I don't see it mirrored outside of me in the projection, how do I know it's there? How would you know it's there? It's subconscious. You never see it, so you can't let it go. So the ego's Achilles heel is projection because it uses it to defend itself, but the Holy Spirit reinterprets it and uses it to awaken you. And there's nothing the ego can do about that except try and project more. And as it projects more, it reveals more of itself, and the Holy Spirit sees that and lets it go. Which is why ultimately it's a done deal. Your awakening is guaranteed if you will just listen to the correct interpretation of the projection, which is the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, it's funny what the ego says, isn't it? It was like saying to me, or you could make the wrong decision, or you might not be able to cope. It's getting clearer. Using the instrument of peace makes it very clear. Because I see the same sentence in different formats come up.
Then you start seeing, well, there's only one problem and there's only one solution. And then it gets very simple. Okay, one problem, separation. One solution, let go of separation. In every situation across the board. Yes, the situations seem to take different forms. There seem to be different kinds of problems, different intensities of problems, but it's all the same. It's one problem and there's only one solution to it. And then when you see that, it's very, very simple. I just need to let it go. Let go of any negative thoughts and emotions triggered by something. That's the answer always. So it's so simple. He's making, this life and spiritual journey so simple. If we can just see that, and we'll just work through the complexity that's still in our mind. Go, oh, actually it's still complex, and no, it's actually incredibly simple. Can you see the simplicity though in the complexity? Can you see through the illusions and go, no, it's actually all the same thing? And there's only one approach to it that's going to work, which is this complete letting go or radical forgiveness. So, okay, I know how to do it. Let me do it. Let me apply it. and then I experience, the benefits of the letting go. And if I keep doing that for the rest of my life, I will be free. There's no way the ego can sustain against radical forgiveness. Okay, so number 3, Sue seems to have gone somewhere else. So if you can read, back. Sue, do you want to read number 3 for us?
Sorry, I just had to take a phone call.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are we? Number 3. A negative thought does many things. In frantic action, it pursues its goal, twisting and overturning what it sees as interfering with its chosen path. Distortion is its purpose and the means by which it would accomplish it as well. It sets about its furious attempts to smash reality without concern for anything that would appear to pose a contradiction to its point of view.
Any thoughts on that? Graphic.
It sounds like ego to me. A negative thought does many things. In fact, it actually pursues its goal. Well, it sounds like it when you've got a negative thought, you go down that pathway of, and it brings on other thoughts like that. And yeah, so it takes away all thoughts of to smash reality without concern. So yeah, I kind of get
choked up.
Yeah, no, sorry. It seems like if you've got all your negative thinking, it just takes you down that path, that whole, and it takes you away from that, our pure, formless love, perfection, whatever it is.
Covers it over, and that's its only purpose. That's what he's saying. All these negative thoughts, they just cover over the truth, and that's the only purpose. And the design is to smash reality with a capital R, which is pure formless awareness of perfect love. Dark concern for anything that would appear to pose a contradiction. So it won't look at anything else. It won't change its perception. It's just like, no, that's the way it is. Smashes reality through all of the discombobulation and confusion and chaos, and wants to keep you there. And that's what one negative thought does.
Yeah, it snowballs, doesn't it?
So that's why we need to be vigilant, because like one thought can do that. One thought multiplies into more illusions and more illusions, and ultimately will take you down down into the darkness of the ego's thought system if you don't stop it. So forgiveness or letting go, somebody's okay, it's arising, the negative thoughts and feelings arising, I can let it go right now. I don't have to go down that path. So catch the thought, catch the emotion before it develops into a full-blown ego reaction, and release it. And that's really all we're doing. We're just learning to get good at that process. Okay, any other thoughts on number 3? No?
Okay, shall I do number 4?
Yep, number 4.
Letting go, on the other hand, is still and quietly does nothing. It offends no aspect of reality, nor seeks to twist it to appearances it likes. It merely looks and waits and does not judge. She who would not let go must judge, for she must justify her failure to let go. But she would not let go of her separate self. But she who would let go of a separate self, must learn to welcome truth exactly as it is.
Let's just change that. I'm going to change that to once.
Okay. She wants to let go of a separate self, must learn to welcome the truth in exactly as it is. Yay!
Exactly as it is. So no change, no distortion, just that awareness. That's the truth. I didn't make up the truth. Truth is not, it's not up to me to decide what the truth is. It's just up to me to accept it as it is. Well, hallelujah for that. Imagine it was up to us to decide what the truth was. To create truth. It's a disaster. Most likely to get it wrong if it's up to you. So it's just an acceptance. Okay, the truth is true. There's just that awareness. And I'm just letting go of anything else that's blocking that awareness. This is very, 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 very simple teaching.
It's amazing. Every time I read it, I hear it differently. So about she who will not let go must judge. You know, I've read this about 3 or 4 times now, and still that stood out for me today. Yeah.
So we must judge this world as real. And that's always the ego's agenda. You must judge it as real. You make it real in your mind. You make it real through your thoughts and your emotions. And so a negative thought and then attendant emotion makes the whole situation real. Because now, why would you have an emotional reaction to something unless it's real? You see how it works. And so then the negative thoughts and emotions are what make the world real in your perception. Which is why he's targeting those and saying, okay, well, let go of those, because then you'll see that the world isn't real. If there's no longer any thought and emotion about this world, nothing triggers you, then you have accepted the truth that none of it's real, by definition. Do you see that?
Say it again.
So that's why.
Can you say that sentence again?
If you can truly let go of everything in this world, all perceptions, then clearly, and there's no negative thoughts and emotion about any of it, then clearly what you're saying to your mind is it's not real. Because there's no emotion, there's no thought or emotion about it. So that's where the rubber meets the road here. It's not just an intellectual, conceptual thing. So actually, there's no thoughts and emotions being triggered by this world anymore because it's not real. So how can it trigger any thought and emotion if it's not real? So there's only the pure formless awareness of perfect love that remains. And that's the enlightened state. So it's a total letting go of all illusions, the veil of illusion that covers over the mind is just made up of the thoughts and emotions that this world seems to justify. You see that? So I had my spiritual awakening experience a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago at the Passion Retreat. It was so obvious to me that all of the thoughts and emotions that I'd been thinking pretty much my whole life were part of that veil. And the world is just there to justify those thoughts and emotions. That was the only purpose it served. And all of that was the veil of illusion. And then it was like the whole course downloaded in an instant. It's just like, oh, I get it. I just see. It's my own thoughts, my own beliefs. Those are projected out. Now I believe what I'm seeing, and those thoughts and emotions get strengthened. And that all of that, the thought and emotion, covers over pure formless awareness, and I'm no longer in it, and I'm no longer aware of it. And that's why it's called the veil of illusion, because it covers it over. And the world is just the justification for that process. It seems to justify the thoughts and emotions that are really illusory, that are totally false. And when you just feel that, experience it viscerally, it's, oh my God, I get it. Suddenly it's just like, all of it makes sense. You know what I mean? In an instant, it's like, yes, I absolutely get it, and I see it completely. That's what this world is, and And all you can do is stay in that awareness yourself and teach it. So, well, that's all it's complete illusion, designed only to perpetuate these false thoughts and emotions, which are nothing. They're nowhere. They're nothing. Only your awareness, true awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love that underlies that is true and real. There's nothing else that's true or real. Make sense? Hopefully.
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. In my head, it makes sense. I'm not experiencing it right now, but
Feels
it'll
very
come.
big.
It'll come. Like, these realizations, often they just come when you're ready, and you just get it. You're like, oh my God, I just experience it viscerally, and then you know it to be true. After that, I was like, okay, I have no doubts anymore. I know this to be true because I've experienced it. And then you have conviction. It's like, I know, because that experience was not a lie. That experience showed me the truth, like revealed, the truth in that instant. And so then you know it experientially. It's not intellectual knowledge. No one's taught it to you. All of the preparation I did, the many years of study, it was all leading up to that. And then boom, it all just downloads and you go, I get it. Okay, it's a moment of satori, they call it in a Japanese tradition. Just, yes, a holy instant. I just get it. And those will come. If you do this kind of work, those will come to you when you're ready. Okay, happy with number 4? Reasonably, anyway.
yeah, thank you.
So number 5, Sue, if you can read that.
Do nothing then, and allow letting go to show you what to do through your guide, your awakener and protector, strong in hope and certain of your ultimate success. You have never been condemned, but only loved by this loving presence, for such its function, given to it by pure formless awareness of perfect love. Now you must share its function and let go of all condemnation towards perfect love's extension that it has awakened, whose innocence it perceives and whom it honors as the extension of perfect love.
Yeah, any thoughts on that?
Well, I think the strong in hope and certain of ultimate success just reminds me of just feeling really sure about your guidance, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just following your guidance. So if you let go and allow that to come through, then you know you've got this knowing and this surety that that's where to go, what to do.
Do nothing then, allow letting go. So this process of letting go of all the negative thoughts and emotions, that shows you what to do. That brings the guidance in, which is your guide, your awakener, protector, strong in hope, certain of your ultimate success.
And you're just supported by the loving presence, by pure formless awareness of perfect love then.
Which it will be translated in a helpful way into your mind. This is what the Holy Spirit is. So it will give you the guidance that you need to to navigate the next section of your journey, moment by moment, which is amazing, really. You think, wow. So it's pure formless awareness of perfect love, and yet it's accessible in this world through this Holy Spirit, through this remembrance of it, that can interpret that divine presence and now interpret it in this world and say, okay, so now I can make a decision, I can perceive differently, and I can decide differently based on that presence. That's the Holy Spirit. So it becomes quite practical and helpful in situations that occur all the time in this world. So it's a problem-solving methodology, this par excellence, beyond any. There's no other methodology that's able to do the kind of miracles that this can do. It takes a bit of mind training to achieve it. Okay, so any other thoughts on that teaching on what is forgiveness?
No.
All right, so let's move on to the lesson then. Just a couple of paragraphs.
I might have to bail at this point just because I've got.
Okay,
So,
you need to go. And thank you.
no, thank you. That's been a really good lesson today.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Sally, for nudging me.
Bye.
Hope to see you again.
I'll see you later.
Okay. Namaste.
So, love which created me is what I am, or love which extended me is what I am.
Those have a different flavor, don't they? Created versus extended.
Love which extends me is what I am.
Yeah, actually, you're right. So make it present. Love which extends me is what I am.
So I've been doing the cards every day where I write down
Yes.
the lesson on a piece of card every day, and I write, I adjust it if I want to add anything. I've added I am love today, and then I write any exercises that come to me while I'm reading your email. And it's working really well because I can keep it in my pocket. I take it wherever I go. I do get propped up on my desk.
Well, it's up to you. I mean, if you want to keep it to yourself, but feel free to post it on the group. Take a photo and just post it on there. I think, was it Elaine? Elaine actually sent you probably didn't see it because she sent it to the WhatsApp group, and I don't think you're on the WhatsApp group.
No.
But she sent a message. I'll show you actually. She sent this message saying, really, really love it. G, and then we go here.
It works so well because it's always in my back pocket. So if I'm waiting for something, I'm queuing up or I'm in traffic, I can just slip it out of my pocket, and gives me a whole load more opportunities for contemplation. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So please post it. Actually, it was in the club. I think she put it in the club. There we go.
How many groups have you got?
Lovely idea, Susie. She thought you were Susie. Sorry about that. Please post it so that it stands out for all of us that much more. I would find that helpful.
Okay.
So by all means, post it. Post it on there because it's another reminder for people, and they could print it out. I mean, ideally, they should write it out themselves, I suppose. I'll put a reminder every day. Like, why not write it out and just carry it around with you, so it's it's ever present.
Because I've heard other spiritual teachers say that they were walking into a shop and they were saying the lesson to themselves and contemplating it. And I think to myself, how do you remember what the lesson is? And so this way works for me. Yeah. It's just finding what works, isn't it, for each person?
Yeah, exactly. John used to do I don't know if you saw this, but he did the same thing. Would write it and put a piece of paper in his pocket and just carry it around. So it's like, okay, I can refer to it easily. That's the beauty of it. It's a short lesson, a very short phrase, so you can easily write it on a post-it note or something, and just have it to hand. It's like, okay, remember, ideally it's present in your mind, but I can generally do it mentally. But still, sometimes you're like, okay, so what was the lesson again? Exactly. You have to think about it for a while. It's amazing how you forget. How extraordinary how the ego tries to make you forget. So
Mm.
I'll remind people to do it every day, and please, post it on there.
Yeah.
Once I posted the main lesson, as a reminder, like mid-morning, great, just post it on there, because then someone gets another, okay, ping, that reminds me to do it. Ideally, I mean, what we need is an app that that has all this integrated, so you wouldn't use Telegram anymore. The message would be on there and be like, okay, this is going to pop up every day, and it's going to remind me every day, and it'll bring up the slide. So okay, there, it brings up the slide as a reminder, and then I can tap it, and then it'll play the breath break. So, yeah, that's where we're going to go ultimately, I think. But in the meantime, just use the tools we have. So please, feel free to share whatever you find helpful. Okay. So
Just share
first
it.
paragraph, I'm going to read that.
I seek my own identity and find it in these words. Love which extended me is what I am. Now I need to seek no more. Love has prevailed. And so still it waited for my coming home. I will no longer turn away from being wholly aware of my true identity. And what I perceive attests to the truth of the identity I sought to lose, but which my sources kept safe for me. Sometimes I get so lost in the words, I don't have much continuity, but I'm just feeling into it.
Well, it's just the whole point. Remember, he's saying the words are pointers. Truth to the experience. So still it waited for my coming home. So it's been waiting there forever for your coming home, for your return to its awareness, that I will no longer turn away from being wholly aware of my true identity. So it's been waiting there forever, and I'm not going to turn away from it anymore. I'm going to turn my mind, restore my mind to it. When I perceive, attest to the truth of the identity I sought to lose, but which my source has kept safe for me.
Feels quite safe.
Oh, very, just resting in the presence of this love. This is what I am. I am love. So, stated another way. I am love. Well, it's just, you think it's just 3 words, but they're so powerful. Because they awaken the presence within us. The words point us to the presence, and then it arises in our minds, and we feel it, and we go, oh, that just feels so safe and calming and comfortable and peaceful, and that's the power of a simple statement of truth.
Yeah, I can feel it in my belly. It's a kind of softness and a relaxation and a stillness, and it's a release. Yeah, it's a release.
Yeah, you sort of. It's amazing how you actually feel it in the inner part of your body. It's in your heart. It's just kind of, there's a presence there, and it sits there. Sometimes it's depicted as like an inner flame in your heart. It's like a warmth. So it's activating your energy. Those chakras, energy centers are, when we're in the state, are opening, and you're open to source energy, and you feel it undeniably. And it's just words, just an idea. I am love, and yet changes everything.
It does.
Okay, so any other thoughts on that?
No, that's all done.
1, 2.
My source, I give thanks to you for what I am, and for keeping my true identity untouched and sinless in the midst of all the thoughts of sin my foolish mind made up. And thanks to you for freeing me from them. Amen.
Makes similar sense sometimes.
What was it before you changed it? Oh, sin, wasn't it? Oh.
It was sinless, yeah. Untouched and sinless. Untouched and innocent. So it's stating in the positive versus the negative. I think I always prefer. He does quite a lot of the, sinless and fearless, and stating the negative stating the positive through the negative. He does quite a lot of that. I always think it's better just to have a positive word for it. But use whichever. That's why we have the original. So if you like sinless, then use sinless rather than innocent.
Yeah.
In the midst of all the thoughts of sin, and sin is actually. Let me ask. So, how would you explain sin in a word, in a phrase?
Yeah, you couldn't in a short one, could you?
You can.
Can you?
I said it earlier.
I don't know.
So sin is just error made real and permanent, and therefore made punishable. The reason we don't put that all in is because the sentence will become very long. Error made real, permanent, and punishable is quite a long for sin. But that's what it is.
Yeah, sin's a funny word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very old school, old church.
I haven't got I've tried to think of a translation for it in one word, and there isn't one. I can't think of a. You have to translate it in a phrase. Error made real and permanent would be the short, but that's still what, 5 words? Error made real and permanent. Five words for one word.
Yeah, transcession of God, or yeah. I like the word innocent.
Yeah. Seems to have it. For me, it's more powerful than sinless. Because almost like sinless, you're making sin real and then you deny it. Sinless. Whereas innocent is like, well, it's just innocence. And that's why I think it's always better to state it in the positive rather than deny the negative in the word. Okay, so any other thoughts on the lesson?
No, it all feels very relaxing and centering and
yeah. So each lesson that is to give you that experience. It becomes a way of accessing the presence, and that's why he's giving them to us, to just use it to access this loving awareness, to experience it and to know it as your truth, going beyond intellectual understanding, going beyond words. Just, yes, I know it as the truth of who I am. So shall we, speaking of knowing and experience, shall we do a meditation?
Yes, please.
On this. How long do you have? Do you have to go in 10 minutes, or can you go before that?
No, it needs to be 3 o'clock on the dot.
All right. Okay. So making yourself comfortable. Sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, back straight. Cup your hands on your lap, close your eyes. And just start taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. In the end, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clenching the sphincter muscle, lock the energy in. Like the energy is rising up the spine to your heart center. Putting one hand on your heart, connecting with your heart space. Throw the energy up into the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. And so just check in and scan your mind. Notice any thoughts, emotions, sensations going on, particularly anything that feels negative or limiting, contracted or constricting in any way, shape, or form. You breathe into that, create some space, some light, some awareness. Remind yourself of today's lesson. Love which extended me, love which extends me in this moment is what I am. Love is what I am. Feel that as a warm, comforting, tingling presence in your stomach and your heart. Breathe it in to every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is in this loving awareness, which has no opposite, which no dark or limited thoughts can continue. So you just release them. Use your breath to help you do that. Exhale. Just exhaling it out, letting it go. The breeze of your breath to the nothingness that it really is. It's going, gone. Blow it all away. Letting it all go. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just rest in the peace and the stillness. Remain. It's only this loving awareness which extends you. And you just rest in this presence. Rest in the presence of peace. As a loving awareness that you are for a couple of minutes of deep silence. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, observe the breath flowing in and out through the nostrils. Relax and surrender into the knowledge that love which extends you in this moment is what I am. And so just coming back gently to an awareness of the body and the breath, the senses and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises, chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. The top of the inhale, observe the thoughts and emotions, the sensations, go with them, and be willing just to release those, just to let those go, blow them all away, and we'll go with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness. They really are. Going, gone. Notice how the air flows out, chest and stomach suck back in. Count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling and touching with your hands. Breathe in, notice the smell in your nose, taste in your mouth perhaps. Notice what you're hearing, just from a perspective of stillness. So without naming, judging, and labeling anything, just in your true awareness. And on the count of 3, open your eyes. Just take 30 seconds to look around, noticing the various objects in the room around you. Notice that the awareness that you have experienced in the last 10 minutes is still there, even though your eyes are open. Move on to something else, look at another object. It's the same awareness. And just stay rooted in that awareness for the rest of the afternoon. To help you do that, practice today's lesson frequently, ideally every hour. Just top yourself up using just the lesson. I've sent you short instructions in your text message or email, or you can listen to the breath break, 3-minute breath break. To do that, practice it every hour, ideally, just to reconnect with this loving presence, the loving awareness that you really are. And so from that loving awareness, I want to acknowledge you. Thank you, Sally and Sue, for joining, and anyone else who's listening to this or watching this recording. Thank you for joining. I hope the session has connected you with your own true awareness, your own loving awareness, and that you experience that and only that for the rest of the afternoon and evening and forever. So I wish you good practicing, and namaste, which means the loving awareness in me, true self in me, acknowledges and honors that same loving awareness and true self in you.